everyone, welcome to the Seeds of Success podcast, hosted by Dottie San Martin and myself, Orly Rivera. This show is your weekly dose of knowledge, insights, and actionable tips to transform centers into striking successes. Whether you're a seasoned industry professional or just stepping onto the lanes, we've got you covered. Dottie, how are you doing today?
Hi, Orly. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing good. And, usually I just see you in front of me, but I see a special guest here today. So if you would like, I'm going to let you introduce who is joining us today.
Absolutely. Thank you. Well, today we are honored to have someone in our studio. We have Miss Rosa Katz, and I would attempt at her title, but it's so long and I don't have it written down. So I am going to let her give us her title or her current title. So welcome, Rosa. It's nice to have you on Seeds of Success.
Thank you, Dottie. Thanks, Orly. And I guess I'll give you the abbreviated version, but I am the Director of Strategic Services and Global Training at KMF.
Okay. Well, we're really happy to have you. One of the things that we as a strategic services team are responsible for is staying on top of what's trending, especially Orly and I. We're out there and we're trying to find out, the latest in social media trends and where people are getting their news and how they want to get their information from companies. And as a strategic services team, we're always looking at what our customers' needs are. Where are our customers? How do they want us to communicate with them? What's important to our customers these days, right? And Rosa, I know you and I love to go to the seminars and conferences to understand all about our customers. And so that's really what we want to talk about today is our customer, what their needs are, what their expectations are. And I'm going to turn it over to you because I know you know all too well that if we don't listen to those customers and we don't tap into what's important to them, they're going to go someplace else, right?
Absolutely, Dottie. And it's such a great and relevant topic because really your customers' expectations is how you know what products and services you're going to deliver that makes them want to choose your business, right? And so, some can call it marketing, but realistically, it's about how to connect your products and your services with what your customer wants and what they're willing to come into your facility for, where they're willing to spend their dollars, right? Mm-hmm. And would it surprise you if I shared that really it's really all based on and has everything to do with your customer's needs. Really being focused on generationally what's motivating them, mm-hmm. what matters to them, and understanding those demographics. Because if you don't, you really are working with a blind spot in your business.
Yeah. And those needs are so different. There are some similarities, but the needs are really, really different based on the demographic that we're attracting.
Yeah, I think sometimes too, people assume they know what their customer wants, but unless you're getting out there and kind of finding out or asking around or just doing your research, you never know. There's been times where, I want to teach somebody something, or even when I was, when running the bowling center, you might be like, you want to learn this, this, and this. And they're like, well, can you teach me this? And you're like, oh, that's what you want to learn? Okay. I had no clue that's something somebody wanted to learn. So yeah, you have to do that research to find out what people want.
Absolutely. And that's such an interesting point that you make there, Orly, because really, people think about each generation and what they're interested in, what motivates them, like how they want to buy, how do they spend, what are their expectations. But something that's really important to remember is that there is fluency between generations, right? And so your product may very well appeal to a wider range of audience, like to a wider demographic, just by simply making some small tweaks to what you have to mm-hmm. offer. So really understanding what that is and then understanding how you can tweak your product and your services to appeal to that audience. And I mean, if we're being honest, honestly, bowling and entertainment, I mean, it really does have a very wide range. There's just so much you can do. And so it's just a small tweak here or there to really be able to apply it, but understand how they're motivated, why they come in, why they buy, why they spend. Those are really important.
And you said make a few tweaks here or there. It's also a matter of how you what message you're sending to them as well. So the message, the language, the platform that you use is totally different from generation to generation. And so, we say meet the customer where they're at. First of all, you have to know where they're at, right?
Oh God,
Go meet them.
Absolutely. You really do. So if you think about it, right? And not to age myself, but I'm in the Gen X. So how did you reach me is very different than how you reach my 17-year-old daughter, right? And we might be doing the same activity, but we are definitely motivated by very different things, So just to break it down, right? Gen X is really all about email. We're still the email generation. We like things, and to be very modern, we like things like YouTube. We watch our videos, blogs. We do our reading. We do our research, right? Millennials are kind of newer things like podcasts and social media and apps, right? Mobile apps. Then if you think about it, Gen Z is, TikTok, right? TikTok, voice-enabled devices, interactive activities, really, it's all about sort of what's short and quick and punchy. And, we can't count out Gen Alpha because while they're not actually doing the purchasing today, they're definitely influencing family spending.
That's for sure. Yeah. And the beauty of bowling, as you said earlier, bowling can appeal to all those, we've said it before, from 2 to 102, right? It's just a matter of what is the offering? What are you offering? There's a variety of different ways that you can play now and ways that you can be entertained when you go into an entertainment center or bowling entertainment center. And so it's a matter of making sure that you are having global appeal, that you are making sure that you're using all of the things that you have available to reach that particular audience. You may be great at reaching your competitive, millennials, but you aren't really tapping into the Gen X. And there's ways that you can do that are relatively simple to do.
Yeah, Dottie, it's such a great point. And when you think about that, as you move from generation to generation, what you're really doing is future-proofing your business, right? You're making changes to the business, to the products, to the services that you offer. They're still applicable and they're still relevant and there's still something that the generations like Gen X and even millennials are coming in to buy. But as you start making those small changes and you're appealing to the Gen Z and eventually to Gen Alpha, you're essentially setting your business up for the future. You're ensuring that you're ready for what's going to come next, because otherwise you're going to have a huge leap to make in order to appeal to a new generation.
Absolutely. And so you have to be also very aware that you need to diversify. The days of just having a Facebook page is enough. That's not enough anymore. Absolutely. Your customer needs to know that you have what they want. So you're going to have to be wherever they are, be it on TikTok, be it on your website at the very least, that you make sure that, for example, the younger audience now is looking for convenience and self-service. And, if they don't know that they can make online reservations, or if they don't know that they can not ever have to see a human, but go to the kiosk and get, if they don't know that, they might skip over you to go to someone else that does let them know that something that's quite important to them is available at your facility.
Yeah, that's a big thing right now with, kiosks. Some people are just, shy, I guess you would say, antisocial, and they want to just, let me just go order my food up here. And I'll be much happier that way. I saw a funny meme the other day that says, how antisocial are you? And it says, I'm antisocial where if the gas pump says, come see the cashier, I'm taking off. So some people don't want to, they're out there having fun, but when it comes to like, oh, I don't really want to, or I don't know what I want to order, or they're nervous to order something, as crazy as that sounds, sometimes people are just scared to, do you offer this or do you offer that, where they could just go there, put in their order, change what they want to change, and it makes them feel more comfortable,
Yeah, and that's just one little thing.
Absolutely. And this is such an important point that you just made, actually, Orly, because when you stop and think about this, we think about being prepared for the generation. And that means, I've got to have products that really appeal to each generation, which means I've got to have a a cool new, evening event or something that I do different. But it's also in your offerings in terms of how do you appeal to every different generation? So do you have somebody at the desk because that appeals to a certain demographic in a certain generation? Then you might have the kiosk, right? And that appeals not only for convenience, but it appeals to a specific demographic in a specific generation. Do you take online reservations? Not everybody's going to want to do them, but for the audience and for the demographic that wants to do that in advance, you're appealing to them. And so it's not necessarily that I have a punchy Wednesday night event. It's also about the way that I allow you to do business with me is also proofed for every demographic and every generation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you do have to have a plan. And that's one thing that, that we say all the time. You've got to think through, who is my customer? What does my customer want? And as I said, this team particularly, that's the fun part of what we do is we get to tap into that all the time. We want to know what's trending, what excites the younger people, what does our older clientele, because you don't want to just cater to one demographic. You have the luxury because of what you're able to offer at your entertainment center to appeal to all of those audience. So, we can have our cake and eat it too, right? Because we can offer so much. But you have to have a plan in order to reach all of those people. And sometimes that gets a little bit overwhelming or daunting, but, there are companies like, for example, our virtual marketing manager, we do provide that service. If you need specific demographics that you're missing, well, we can partner with you and we can do that. So as long as you've got a plan and you can make sure your messaging is aligned, your offering is aligned, your product is aligned, and even your staffing is aligned, right? Then hopefully you will keep that customer instead of them bypassing you and going to someplace else.
Absolutely. I mean, and that is a very important thing that we do because there is so much to have to wrap your arms around. So staying on top of trends, understanding what customers want, helping you to really evolve your overall product line and service and offerings to be able to appeal to every generation is something that we try to do so that it's easy for you, so that you're able to really focus on the business of running a very strong and entertaining operation. And then we help you customize that, right? Customize your products and your offerings to ensure that it appeals to a different audience.
Yes, absolutely. And that is one thing that's so exciting about the industry that we're in is we can appeal to everybody and we do appeal to everybody. So if you're not getting your piece of that pie, you need to get in line because we can cater to everybody here. So, well, Orly, I think this has been a show that we've been wanting to do for a long time. I feel that there's customers that maybe just don't realize that they have such a global appeal, and with just a little bit of concentration on other demographics, they may be surprised where their center can go.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, thank you so much for being a part of today's episode of Seeds of Success. With decades of industry experience, we're honored to share ideas, strategies, and trends designed to help entertainment centers like yours thrive and grow. Together, we're planting the seeds for a stronger, more successful future. Share this podcast with your team and industry friends, because the more seeds we sow, the greater the harvest. Rosa, thank you so much for being our guest today. We look forward to having you again in the future. And listeners, until next time, let's continue to build success, one happy guest and one incredible experience at a time.